Hello clones and best clones. Wow. I wanted discussion and you guys delivered. I was extremely pleased with the amount of well thought out comments that you all had. If you haven't watched all the video responses or read all the comments, I encourage you to do so because they're really good. Now this video is going to be a response to everyone else's response, so if you haven't watched the original video, this is the time to do so before you move on. From what I saw, the majority of you were appalled by the parts of Dr. Daniel Shyesta's speech that I shared with you last week. In a video response, Cyberman expressed one of two reoccurring themes that I noticed.
To be quite frank, Justin, right now, it kind of sounds as if he's that guy who leaves a thing that he's been used to all his life, and when you leave it, you become like radical to the other side. I've been there myself. I, used to be a religious guy and I'm not anymore. When I just decided not to be religious anymore, I had a phase of being really angry at religion and really hating everything that has to do with religion, and everyone who's in religion is stupid and get out of my face. And it passed.
And there was a lot of comments that kind of repeated this. Rather Be Smilin' wrote, so this was a bad Muslim hating on Christian and Jews, and now he's a bad Christian hating on Muslim. Alizabel wrote, it does seem like this man is still filled with a lot of hate that has just been redirected. And the Dynamite Voice wrote, most people hate what they fear. This man must be very afraid. The next video response I'm going to show you comes from Rezaher, who talked about going to the mosque every day in Albania with their grandmother when she was younger. She makes the point that she always had fun going and she never remembered any kind of hate being preached towards other religions. And I really liked the story that she had to tell. Take a listen.
But I don't see how Shyesta can look at Muslim Americans, not even the one in other countries, and not see them living peacefully. If he does, then how can he look at a perfectly functional Muslim family? They're happy, and how can he say that their beliefs are evil when all they're doing is living peacefully and they don't want any trouble? One of my best friends is Muslim, and she is very loyal to her religion. She loves it. But she's also one of the most nicest, coolest, most normal people I know. She doesn't let her religion or anything stop her from what she wants to do. And that makes her the most happiest and also most confident person I know. To me, that is peaceful.
And in another video response, I kind of like what HSGMLake said.
The topic of discussion in hand, how can Muslims be peaceful, is really, really important for me personally as Christian and for other Christians out there to understand their views and how they view us and how we view Muslims. And I just think it's really, really important that we learn to understand each other more. Basically, I just think that we should be more tolerant of Muslims and Muslims should be more tolerant of us. And we should have a kind of mutual understanding going on.
Moving on to CKX Score, who was actually at the same Sunday morning service as I was at, said that he thinks Dr. Shyesta was relying on his Christian audience to understand that he was referring to a radicalized version of Islam. And then Cody went on to say this.
The only news I ever hear about Muslims seems to be bad news. Why is that? Where are all the peaceful Muslims during this hard time? When has a significant number of peaceful Muslims ever stepped up and said, we believe that these radical Muslims are wrong?
Katie Matthews, who video response Cody, had a really great point.
The majority of Muslims being peaceful, that's not newsworthy. News is by definition, by etymology, new. It's different, it's flashy, it's something that's life-changing and needs to be talked about. And I want to be very, very clear when I say that there are not large Muslim communities coming out and saying we do not support these radical Islamists because they should not have to, and it is fairly discriminatory to ask them to. Because wanting that makes the presumption that Muslims are, or most of them are, those radical people, and that they should have to denounce it or else we shouldn't trust them.
Now looking back over some of the comments and video responses, I noticed a second reoccurring theme about how people were comparing Islam to Christianity or other religions. CKX Score talked about the Westboro Church and the KKK in relation to the Christian Church. Katie Matthews talked about pedophilia in the Catholic Church, and I saw plenty of comments bringing up the same thing. In fact, here's what Cyberman had to say about it.
A couple of 100 years ago, Catholicism? Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. But that being said, the fact that there were some radical Catholics at the time who did some horrible, horrible things, I don't believe for a second that Catholics were horrible people. By the way, radical Jews? Same diff. So is Islam a violent religion? Answer, just as much as any of the other ones.
Now last week when I was making this video, I purposely left out this point. While I think it's important to note that Catholicism started inquisitions and witch hunts and crusades, I think that it's a flawed argument to use in this conversation, because the sins of one entity never justify the sins of another. In a similar argument, while I might not want Joe Politician to govern my state because he slept with over 200 women last year, that doesn't necessarily hinder his ability to govern my state. But here's the thing I think you should all take away from this. And it's something that Will's Odyssey said down in the comments. He said no one needs a religion as an excuse to be good or bad. They are just people. Can Muslims be peaceful? Of course they can, because people can be peaceful. In other words, it doesn't matter what you are. Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, agnostic, atheist. That shouldn't be the question. The question should be, can humans be peaceful? Or can humans be hateful? And the answer to those questions are yes. As long as you are a human, you have the power to love, hate, build up, or destroy. So, you're a human. What are you gonna use it for? I hope that you enjoyed this discussion, and since I got such a good response, I might have to do this again sometime. I'm gonna end with a special request, because I think there's a penguin that needs to be named. See everybody later.
This is a penguin. He or she, you can't really see from here, doesn't have a name. He needs a name. So if any of you guys from the CKX Core / Justtubed community would like to name the penguin, that's cool.